Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone, and a big welcome to everyone who's joined us today from the Janki Foundation for Spirituality in Healthcare. Today's event is brought to you as part of a series entitled Embracing Isolation, and we're bringing this to you in collaboration with the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. My name is Mistry, and I've been working in psychiatry in London for over 20 years. I've also been connected to the Janki Foundation over that period of time and been participating in various things. In particular, perhaps my main role has been to edit the newsletter up until recently. For your information, today's session will be recorded and it will be available on the website in due course. For GDPR purposes, we will keep everyone muted for the duration of this seminar, when we would ask you to keep your mics muted also. There is a facility to send in questions via the Zoom, via the chat function on Zoom, or via Facebook Live if you are joining us on Facebook. And we would be pleased to receive your questions after every speaker has shared their thoughts today. So today we will be hearing from 3 speakers, and we will have some time for reflection at the end and some movement as well, to help break up and help us process what we are hearing today. So why are we doing this series? Well, I think we have all heard a lot about loneliness and isolation. It's almost, you know, social isolation, the new norm, and social distancing are almost, they're the new buzzwords of 2020. So many things have changed this year, and more people are experiencing isolation and loneliness than ever before. Over the years, I've spoken to a lot of people who've chosen to be on their own or to isolate themselves, perhaps because of illness. But now this year, we know that so many more people are isolating, shielding, in quarantine after going away, social distancing, and the term loneliness has kind of become very prominent and become a new acceptable terminology to talk about. Certainly the government have produced more information about loneliness this year than before, and I will refer you to their very important campaign to end loneliness, which has a website and which has various articles on it, and you can refer to those websites and those articles for further information. Our purpose today is to shed a bit of light on the topic and also to look at how we can all manage being alone in more positive ways. We will be hearing from a total of 7 to 8 speakers over this series, and we hope you will join us for all of them. Today, I would like to introduce to you our first speaker, who will be enlightening us on the topic. It has become such an important topic in modern times anyway, but due to isolation, it's become ever more important, and we're all dealing with that increased impact or strain of dealing with time away from our usual routines. So our first speaker today is Dr. Meena Bobde. Meena Bobde is a consultant psychiatrist working in the field of mental health since 1993. Hello, Meena.
Hello, everybody. Kala, I'm going to put my slides on and I'll be with you soon.
Okay, thank you. So Meena is originally from India and she has worked and lived in the UK and New Zealand. She currently works in the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Defence as an occupational psychiatrist. She has worked in the NHS for older people and in liaison psychiatry. She's passionate about increasing awareness of mental health and continues to work across the globe in different ways. Thank you, Dr. Bob Day. We come over to you now.
Thank you, Kala, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on this very important subject. So, and thanks for the introduction as well, Kala. So, friends, as Kala has rightly said, loneliness and has become a quite a big major problem. And I thought I'll share my thoughts and we'll discuss about what does it mean by being lonely. And then the series will, of course, will give you some tools to deal with it. So what is loneliness? Is it being alone? Or is it the perception of the person who feels lonely? Or is it others' perception of person perceived to be lonely? Or is it a choice? Be with those thoughts, be with those questions. So what is loneliness? How does one define it? Is it a state of solitude or being alone? Is it inability to find meaning in one's life? Or is it feeling negative and unpleasant? Is loneliness a subjective negative feeling related to deficient social relations? Or is it a feeling of disconnectedness or isolations? So many ways are defined in various dictionaries and in various web platforms. We have been working on this subject over these few months and have come up with various kinds of loneliness. So there could be a one kind of loneliness where a person is living alone. There can be people who are living with the family but feel quite lonely and disconnected. In our technology world, there are so many people who are living with technology but they are alone. Is it a problem? UK government has found a big platform to work on loneliness, and it's found to be a very common experience. 80% of those who are under the age of 18 or the 40% of those over the age of 65 report being lonely at least at some times. People with the age of over the 65 living in care homes, living in the various facilities are considered to be living in a circle or in a group. But still, people can be lonely within themselves. Levels of loneliness does reduce to the middle age and does increase to the old age. So it is really a big problem. Why is it a big problem? Loneliness can result into mental health problems, and mental illnesses can lead to feeling lonely. So people who are suffering from loneliness can suffer from depression, psychosis, or due to lack of stimulation, they can have cognitive impairment. People who are suffering from mental illnesses, specifically anxiety disorders or obsessive compulsive disorders, or learning difficulties or psychosis, are not really understood by the world or by the groups, and they can be very lonely. Loneliness also can lead to various physical health problems, and various physical health problems also can lead to loneliness. So loneliness is known to increase chronic physical illnesses. Due to the stress of being lonely, one can suffer from chronic physical illnesses. So cardiovascular illnesses are known to increase in people who are lonely. So is the autoimmune disorders. There's even research on increased rate of death in lonely people. So loneliness can reduce the life expectancy. It has been compared with the obesity and smoking, which we all know are the major risk factors for reducing the life expectancy. So loneliness also increases the risk of death by 30%, which is quite a significant risk. So, as Kala has rightly put and said, UK government has done a lot of work. Jo Cox had brought this to the Parliament's attention. Sadly, she's not with us anymore. In 2017, 9 million of our 68 million population were thought to be suffering from loneliness. In 2018, during the Theresa May's time, there was a proposal to have the loneliness minister, and we had the first loneliness minister. Our current loneliness minister is Baroness Diana Barron, and UK government does do a lot of work in the field of loneliness. And you must be hearing on BBC News almost every week there is some or other covering on loneliness and the topic. Just taking you back to the historical context, why it has become such a big problem? What is contributing to it? Ways of life, ways of living has changed. People used to be living in joint family, and now they are moving to living into nuclear family. Our world has become a very smaller, and the communities are changing over the time. Moral values have reduced. People have become very self-centered, and we are not willing to sacrifice or adjust. We are using such a lot of technology. Before we would go out for shopping and meet people, that will be some interactions, but now we all prefer having online shopping. Our world is kind of so much focused on social media. So meeting and interacting with people has reduced, and our time is spent on various gadgets. Currently, we are meeting you all with these gadgets as well. So of course, there's a positive use of it, but more so when people are spending more time with the technology, the loneliness is increasing. In our workplaces as well, there are such a lot of policies and rules to follow. So at work as well, we're not interacting with our colleagues so much. All of us are in a race to getting ahead. And inside, we're feeling lonely. Of course, since March this year, the pandemic has been a major cause of being lonely. There's also a East versus West context to loneliness. In Eastern world and Western world, the ways of living is different. But I have to emphasize that Eastern ways are catching up with the Western ways, and Western ways are catching up with the East. Life is changing everywhere. But there are still some communities do exist in both the parts of the world where people live together and celebrate together. Of course, we all are aware of celebration of life, of the various stages of life, celebration of life through the death or to the marriages as well, where people do gather and share emotions. I'm just going to give you an example of my parents. They live in India, and even though they live in the society, they're just two of us. We also have various societies where we're living. But in their life, every morning till evening, they have so many interactions. The newspaper man comes, the milkman comes, the vegetable man comes, the helper comes, the massage lady comes, the neighbors are there, the doors are open, the watchmen come. And they have interactions all the time with those people. Even few minutes or few sentences of exchange of interactions fills their day. So they have that interactions all the time. Whereas I'm living in West, and my culture has become very much click and collect. And many times if I don't step out of the house, I don't see anybody. Here, I see, as Kala said, I've worked with old age psychiatry and have worked with lots of elderlies. So here, many times, elderlies were living alone who have care packages, carers coming and visiting them up to 4 times a day. But the carers are rushing to do the next task and going to the next person to care for. And they really don't have time to stop or interact. We used to have day centers and drop-in centers. But because of lack of fundings, those have stopped as well. Various clubs and churches gatherings also has been stopped. So the loneliness has increased. So what are the causes of it? Just to take it further, it can be by the preference. people were wanting to live alone. It could be due to the social circumstances. Loved ones are away, or due to the work they are away. It could be the cultural context, culturally acceptable phenomena. As I've already said, changes in societies and values. It can be due to financial reasons as well. I have emphasized enough on the social media and technology. It also can be due to illnesses. As I've said, some of the mental illnesses can result in loneliness, and some of the physical disabilities or physical illnesses, which is not understood, can result into being lonely. And of course, we all know about the pandemic being a major cause. Can loneliness be a choice? Being alone can be a choice. A lot of spiritual communities and creative people often value their times of solitude. Talking about loneliness to solitude. Being alone is often a time for reflection, silence, prayer, or meditation. Really will give you time to reflect and being with yourself. Many creative people have associated being lonely with their creative activity, like songwriters, or the musicians, or the painters. And many inventions and inspirational breakthroughs do happen in silence of being alone. So loneliness can be a choice as well. That's all I wanted to share about loneliness, and I wanted to emphasize on effects of loneliness and why it can have the loneliness. Thank you very much for listening to me. Kala, over to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Meena, for that lovely tour, taking us through some of the many cultural, social, and health-related contexts to the whole topic of loneliness and isolation. Thank you. So if anybody has questions, please do jot them down in the chat box and send them in. But I have a question for you, Meena, and that is, some people do talk about loneliness on an ongoing basis. Perhaps they have felt lonely for many years. Do you have any thoughts on chronic loneliness at all?
As I've already highlighted, many people who are suffering from chronic illnesses, mental or physical, can be lonely, but also people who are living in the crowd or living in a big family, and they have a different values, different ways of thinking, and they're not understood by their own loved ones, can feel very lonely within. So loneliness is not just being alone or living alone. It could be the way people feel, the way people perceive. So yeah, chronic loneliness is known, and chronic loneliness can result into health-related problems. And as I said, it can reduce the life expectancy as well. So it's a very well-known phenomena, and that is why the government has taken such a huge steps to tackle it.
Yeah. So in many ways, as you say, health-related issues can be a result of loneliness, mental health, but also physical health, with reduced immunity and so on. I guess my question, so in a way, my question to you perhaps is looking at the fact that we have social aspects to loneliness, so not being able to meet others, but there's also an emotional component, would you say?
Yeah. Definitely. So currently, of course, with the government guidelines, we all are kind of forced to live alone for ensuring our safety. But that being alone, we still have a tools of the gadgets which I'm using. I'm sitting at my home and you are in your place, and we are still so connected. And we have currently got over 110 people just on this platform and many more on the other platform. So we all are connected. So that's the way of dealing with the loneliness. But as you said, yeah, the social isolation and feeling emotionally alone is a very well-known phenomena. And especially now, because you've been asked to do something, you feel more trapped and you feel emotionally quite alone and low. So that's happening a lot. And that's why mental health problems have increased significantly over this pandemic time.
Yeah, I think you have rightly, touched on technology is another cultural change, but could you just point out to us again what it is about technology that causes people to feel alone? Because it seems as though we've had a cultural shift over the last 10 years.
So think about your or my childhood, Kala, assuming we are the similar age group. We would go out and play with our mates outside, and we would meet and we would have those story sessions and so many things where we interacted with each other. And when I see our youngsters now, they have like hundreds or thousands of followers on the Facebook or on the various platforms. But are they really connected? Are they really able to share the inner thoughts, inner passion with each other? They're quite alone. So that's what has happened with this social media. It's taken away our human to human interactions, and it's been our interactions with the machines. I can see a very interesting question on one of the thing which I would like to address. It's about the age, why there's a huge difference of percentage between the people who are below the age of 18 and over the age of 65. Focus on the types and other kinds of loneliness which I've described. Below the age of 18, as I've just said, they have lots of connections on various Instagram, Facebook, or various WhatsApp or various other platforms as well. But they are not connected human to human, and that's why they're feeling very lonely. And they perceive themselves very lonely. And the pressure of their lives are much more harder compared to what we were at the younger age. People over the 65 also are quite lonely, but in that particular percentage which I was showing, people living in the group homes or living in the care homes are not counted for. But keep in mind that people who live in the care homes or in the groups facilities also can be lonely if they're not understood by others. And if they are craving to be with their own family and they are in the care homes, are quite alone. You would have seen that the care home visiting has started again. The family are able to visit care homes now again, just in this last week. And we've seen such a lot of emotional changes in their mindset. So they were in the care home facilities, but due to the family not visiting, so many of them were alone. And so many care homes were saying that the residents didn't want to get out of their room. They didn't want to get dressed. They just wanted to be there because they were feeling quite lonely and emotionally low. So that particular question is quite important. I do think the loneliness is there at both the ages, both the end of the ages, and it is equally significant problems in our teenagers as well as in elderlies.
That's great, thank you. So there was a question, and I think this is the last question I'm going to ask you, and we'll take other questions later if we have time or in subsequent sessions. Do you think young people have different expectations or perception, or do you think it's just true across the board? Just your thoughts on that, really.
Yeah, I do think our young generation do have a different expectations, and we do have different expectations as well, and our expectations may not be matching together. And there's one crucial thing when we all need to keep in mind: the tolerance, what they want to do, or able to adjust with everybody, and our threshold of being with others has reduced too. The society and the morals and the values have changed a lot. So yeah, young people do have a different expectations, but so is the society has a different expectation from them too. So it's ongoing struggle, ongoing things. And currently, when they haven't been able to meet other youngsters who can understand them, what they are feeling or what they are going through, their struggle has really heightened a lot. So our youngsters are suffering with feeling lonely and not being able to understood. And this is more so in the household where there has been chronic interpersonal difficulties, or people living together but not really connected with each other.
Great. Look, thank you so much for that. And I think if we have time, we will take questions again from the questions in the chat box, and we'll come back to you, Dr. Bobday. Thank you so much for your help.
I'm here every time of our series, so I'm happy to answer anytime. So thank you very much once again for giving me the opportunity, and looking forward to the great programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we hope to hear a bit more from Dr. Bob Day in our ongoing webinars, so next month and the month after. So I think we have quite a few questions which we will be taking up, if not today, then in subsequent sessions. Our next speaker today is Maggie Powell, and Maggie.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there, Maggie. And Maggie is joining us from Oxford, and she's a retired social worker, hospital social worker. And so Maggie has seen quite a bit in terms of people, their situations, and people who are on their own. She has worked in the NHS throughout, Oxfordshire and Southwest England. She has a degree in environmental science, and Maggie is very interested in the environment, and she's been involved in Janky Foundation health-related events to promote values and self-development over as long as I've known Maggie. So Maggie, we'd like to hear from you about your experience of being retired and what it's like to face isolation now. Thank you, Maggie.
Okay, thanks, Carla. Is the sound okay? Is this okay?
Good.
So I'm going to just launch into, I'm going to be talking about me. I'm really sorry, but that's where I'm going to be at. So retirement, living alone, and the COVID pandemic could be a recipe for loneliness and feeling isolated. However, I feel that the lockdowns may have given us new opportunities to develop and explore different ways of being in solitude. And we could find ways to combat feelings of loneliness. So I've been trying to put energy and time into different ways of connecting with the world. So I'll give you a few examples. Revisiting and going into more depth with my own personal spiritual path, establishing stronger bonds with my family and friends, and old acquaintances, as well as my normal circle of people that I interact with. Also finding new ways to connect with the natural world, very close to my heart. You can see my lovely plant here. So I've been developing and creating timetables by using forward planning. That's one of my tools. I forward plan. And this has enabled me to experience insights and feelings regarding my own inner strengths, relating basically to my lifelong personal experiences. So looking deeper within the self has enabled me to, in quite a higher measure, I think, to combat feelings of loneliness and isolation, especially using my creativity, diversity of interests, and my sense of adventure. I like to try new things. These were all things I was looking forward to for my retirement, but you know, the lockdown has changed my parameters quite a lot. So I used my lifelong plan based on principles of my own spiritual path, and I just very simple, preparing for the day, getting through the day, and letting go at the end of the day. And my personal preparation for the day begins with meditation, reflection on a reading from my own spiritual discipline. Then I have a good breakfast. When I worked, I just used to rush off with 2 cups of coffee, but now that I'm retired, I've got time to cook and make myself some really creative breakfast. And then I consult the oracles, which is my old 20-year-old address book and my diary. I like paper. I don't do things on, I don't like using the phone or something like that. I prefer to write. That's my way of dealing with things. So I consult the oracles, and what I've done with the diary is I filled in the pages, the pages that are stretching before me that are blank, with blocks of time for various different activities. These can be on specific days or weekly or monthly. And to fill in these blocks, I've been contacting old acquaintances and friends in my address book, and also actually some distant relatives. I've got a brother who lives in Spain, and it's been quite interesting how we've been communicating more since the lockdown. So that's preparing for the day. Now, getting through the day, I've been filling my time with activities such as walking. I tend to, because I am on my own, I tend to walk in public places. I like wildlife reserves and I take my binoculars, but I tend to make sure that I go to places where there are other people around me. And around Oxford, we've got some very beautiful, what we would call beauty spots, where you can actually drive to in your car, not too far distant from home, because we're not allowed to travel too far. But I've actually been sitting in the car and looking at the vistas, you know, and also you can talk to the person in the car next to you. We're allowed to do that with the COVID through the window. So I did that the other day in the car park in by the White Horse just outside Oxford. It was a very interesting conversation I had with this person sitting next to me in their car. So other things I've been doing is dog walking with my family. And Calla mentioned that I'm very interested in the environment. So now that I am retired, I've got more time to think about that. So I've got lots of bird feeders in my garden. I can watch the birds and get a lot of enjoyment from that. I don't have to go other places to watch birds, but I do that. Also, my garden has been a wonderful solace during this lockdown period. Time to reflect on what I'm going to plant for next year. My garden is only focused on wildlife, so I've got a pond and hedgehogs and frogs and lovely bees in the summer. So all these kind of things have been very important for me to make time for thinking about how to plan for that. The computer, I have to admit, since I've retired, I try to keep away from it as much as possible. However, it has been a wonderful tool for getting in touch with people, and also for looking at things like courses online. I like painting. I like doing watercolour painting. And I don't know whether any of you have ever watched Bob Ross, but wonderful Bob teaches lots of painting techniques. So I've found that very helpful. The other thing is I've been reconnecting with people from my past by getting in touch with them. I'm very cautious about that. I tend to send an email first to see if people want to connect. And I've often found that people are very happy to have a long chat on the phone. And if I can mention WhatsApp, I don't know whether I'm allowed to, but you know, you can talk for long periods of time on that without it costing too much money. But one other thing I've also tried to focus on is helping other people. I get a lot of satisfaction from that. Obviously, social work ethic is quite strong, but also things like my friends, my family. I've been moving quite a lot of furniture lately because I've got quite a big car, and I've been taking people for hospital appointments. I put myself forward to help. If I can sort of say to people, do you want any help with that? Often you'll find that people are happy for that. I'm also good at sewing, so I've been putting zips in and pockets and all these kind of things. I don't mind doing sewing for people, but I think when you interact with other people on this level, it's very satisfying. And also you can find out from them things that they can do for you. It's an exchange of labour, if you like. So I've also been studying. I've got lots of wonderful books, which I never had time to read when I was working. I've discovered something wonderful, which is a revelation to me, which is audio books. I'm sure you all know about those, but I think they're wonderful. So if I am sewing or if I am in the garden, I walk about with my earplugs in, and I can actually listen to a book or if I'm doing mundane tasks, I find that wonderful. Nice, uplifting. I've actually delete more books than I actually read, because when I start listening to them, if I find them in the least bit like social work, I send them back. You know, I want to be entertained and to have something uplifting to make me laugh or to make me feel happy. So with using these different techniques, I've been exploring ideas to sort of travel, or what I would call new frontiers. And also I've had some very interesting aha moments listening to the radio or the Sounds app. I'm sure you all know about these things. But also sort of squirreling away in my mind. I like programs which I learn from. I'm very interested in learning. So I squirrel away things to talk about when I go for walks with my family, dog walking, or you know, if I meet a friend, because we can do that now, coming out of the total isolation, going for walks. So I like to draw on those experiences, and then I find other people have also like to share. So that's preparing for the day, getting through the day. And then very important, I think, is to let go at the end of the day. And this is my time which I use for reflection. And I use the diary again. I'll make notes about what I've done or where I've been, or I'll jot down some new ideas I might have gleaned through the day. And most also is very important to recall highlights, you know, something which has lifted my mood or lifted my spirit. I think it's very important to record that kind of thing, because you can look back over a week and see some really amazing things which have happened, which might sort of go back into the background if you don't make a comment. I think a lot of people journal, so I'd kind of call it a sort of journaling activity at the end of the day. And then meditation is it's been part of my lifestyle for over 35 years. So I use meditation, reflection through the day, through these activities, and I try and prime some of the things I do with this kind of input. And the other thing to do is give myself permission to let go of what I didn't do. I don't have this, all this ticking and crossing and blocks of time in the diary. It's not, for me, I make sure that it's enjoyment and I enjoy what I'm doing. And if I don't do something which I planned, well, I can do it tomorrow. I mean, you know, when you're retired, you do have much more time to do these kind of things. So I give myself permission to let go, literally let go. And then, of course, looking forward to a good night's sleep. So I'd kind of conclude by saying that my advice, if anybody's interested, would be to connect if you're going to help. Because you see, the thing is, it might sound like I've got a very busy life, but actually walking or reading or looking at a program is only 1 hour maybe out of 24 hours when I'm completely on my own. So it might sound very busy and wonderful, but there are hours and hours when I'm not actually interacting with somebody. So these are the kind of experiences which help me to enrich my time. So just to conclude, I'd say connecting with like-minded souls is really important, and to follow your heart and enjoy new and different things. Don't beat yourself up and think, I have to do this, I have to do this. Let go of that and make your mind your best friend. This is one of the things that I've been working on for many years. It's one of the courses that I do. And I have to say the person that's benefited most from that is myself. So instead of beating myself up or telling myself off, I celebrate my talents such as they are. I try to get to know myself more, give myself permission to enjoy my own company. And I enjoy periods of solitude when I work on this. I just want to make one sort of negative comment, because I think it's important to balance this. Dear old Winston Churchill, whatever you think about him or you don't, he talked about the black dog. Now, those of us who are on our own for many hours, stretching through days and weeks and months, this kind of feeling, this kind of dark, deep inner feeling that creeps up on you. I don't know how it is for others, but for me, it's like that melancholiness which the Victorians, I read a lot of literature and I studied literature, so the Victorians were well into all this, you know, negative feelings and melancholy, and they actually celebrated it and thought it was something useful. But I feel that if I find this creeping up, I call it creeping up on me, then what I've been practicing over the last few months with the isolation due to the lockdown is gratitude. I practice gratitude. For example, it happened to me the other day, actually. I was going for a walk on my own in the countryside near where I live, and it was a pretty grey, miserable day. Oxford's in a valley, so we get lots of rain and dark, dismal days. And suddenly this kind of creeping melancholic feeling began to come up in my mind, and I sort of thought, no, don't want that. You know, standing back from it and thinking, no, that's not what I want to feel. So I started to look at the trees, to look at the autumn leaves, to look at the big black clouds above me, but think, well, you know, the skyscape was amazing, you know. So if you can, what I find is if you can drop little positive thoughts, it's like putting lemon juice into something you want to lighten, little positive drops of thought. What happens for me, I can recommend it because I've been doing it, is gradually that dark sort of vista begins to lighten, and then I get to a point where I think I can let go of that now, and then just work on for the next experience that I'm going to have. So I'd like to say that solitude, for many of us oldies, it's our life, it's what we have, you know. I do have a family, they're extended family, and they're all busy. Lucky them, they're still going to work, but also lucky me, I'm not going to work. So it's a question of, I think, of enjoying your solitude and finding ways that you can go into the depth of that and feel positive. So I think I'll finish there. Hope that's okay.
That's great. Thank you so much, Maggie. That's really great. You have actually been answering some of the questions as we go along.
Oh, okay, good.
I feel you have, because you've touched on how, you know, you've touched on all the number of things that you do to occupy yourself while on your own, how you prepare your day, you create a list, and you book things in, you reach out to people, you try to exchange things with people or support people. I think these are all important ways that we can all you know, we all have these ways available to us to reach out and connect and therefore fill our time. That was one of the questions earlier. So somebody has also asked if that painting behind your head, that beautiful painting, whether that's one of your creations.
Yes.
Okay, great. So that's answering that question.
I'll put a different one up next week, so you can see a different one next week.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a nice way of us seeing the products of solitude, or the products of time out. Yeah. And one question, Lonely, Maggie, someone has asked whether there is a difference between being lonely, they've called it medical loneliness, as opposed to just being on your own. How can you tell when you're you know, getting to that point where you're very unwell, where you're perhaps becoming unwell with loneliness? And I think next month, we hope to look at that a bit more, about looking after yourself and perhaps the effects of the physical effects. But when we were talking as a team earlier, you did mention about physical feelings due to loneliness. Could you just say something about that?
Yeah, well, I can put my hand up and honestly say I have experienced depression. When I was working, I had a period that I went through where I won't bore you with that in the details, but I do know what depression is like. And I would equate this black dog feeling to that. And the it's almost like a claustrophobic swallowing up. Well, that's how I can only talk from my own experience. But for me, it's like a creeping, it's almost like a physical contraction in my chest, which is kind of taking the breath away from me. And when I did have I was signed off with depression actually for a short period. For me, it was a very physical feeling. I think for some people it doesn't happen for them like that. But the only thing I can suggest is I've on one or two things I didn't mention, but I have started to do hatha yoga, which is I'm not very not very strenuous. I'm not doing the very advanced stuff, but breathing exercises I think are very helpful. Stretches and pulls, and of course I'm in the older person's bracket, but it will obviously be the same for young people. I know they do different kinds of exercises than I would be doing, but I think physical exercise, I think, and also I think nutrition. I think it's really important to look at your diet and think about healthy, vital foods, because all of those things, they might sound simple, but good diet, some physical exercise, perhaps some breathing exercises. I know this is all focusing on your physical self, but what that does is it sort of lightens and lifts your inner being. It's really, I think that's where that's actually where it comes from. So, and I think that's just a few suggestions.
Thank you, Maggie. So there is a connection between what we think and what we do. So there's a different connection between what we do and how it makes us feel. Thank you so much.
That also affects the feeling. Really, it does affect the feeling.
Yes, thank you. I think that's really great, and we have covered quite a few questions, so thank you, Maggie. And I think that's a very nice introduction to the next bit of our conversation today, which is I'm going to invite Sharon O'Regan to join us now, and she's going to do some movement with us, and I will introduce Sharon to you bit by bit over the seminars. But today I'm just going to say that Sharon conducts creative movement. So over to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Calla, and thanks to Maggie as well, and to Dr. Bobday. So that leads quite nicely what Maggie said about breathing. And because we've actually heard quite a lot so far, I invite you just to close your eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes and just check in to see how you feel now. The thoughts that come, the thoughts that go, just like pink, fluffy clouds. And I invite you to take your hands into a namaste pose or a prayer-like pose. And if you just place your thumbs just under the breastbone, and you can feel just an expanse of the back, so you've got more space to breathe. And Maggie was talking about the breath, so we're going to start with some box breathing. So with box breath, we're going to count in through the nostrils for 4 counts. And we're going to pause for 4. And then we're going to exhale for 4 counts through the nostrils and pause again for 4. So I'll count you in after a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale the breath for 4 counts. And in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause the breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale the breath through the nostrils for 4 counts. And pause. And now we're going to do something based on Qigong. We're just going to take the wrists, and the elbows are right in by our waist. And we're going to take one arm across our face, and we're going to put it back into the waist again. So we're working on the heart here. So what we're doing is just making sure that the qi is pumping around the body. So with the other arm across the face and pulling it in with a clenched fist into the waist. And with the other arm, exhale as we go across and inhale as we come into the waist. And again with the other arm, so we're spreading right across the body, firmly making that fist, clenching that fist and bringing it back in. And again, we're going to exhale, tighten, clench the fist and bring it into the waist. And again with the other arm, exhale the breath and inhale the breath. And again, across the face, across the body, clenching the fist as we take a nice big inhale in and exhale in. And now just shake out the wrists. Really just shaking out the wrists. Again, we're balancing the qi, the energy, the prana, the life force all around the body. Breathing in and exhale. This is sometimes called Italian Qigong. You can see why. And a nice big smile. They say when we smile, we're actually using 26 muscles. And we're giving the brain a sign that we're about to have fun. So a nice big smile. Breathing in and exhale. And you can even make a sound as you exhale. You know, as human beings, we have many inhibitions. So just like an animal, we can be silly sometimes and not take ourselves too seriously. So nice big inhale. And if it's available to you, and smile. That's it. Inhale and inhale and sigh. That feels good. And now, like little bird speaks, we're going to tap on the K27. an energy meridian, and also part of the lymphatics. Breathing in and exhale. This time we're going to inhale through the nostrils and exhale through the mouth. Nice big inhalation. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Again, now we're going to have claws and side ribs. Again, the lymphatics. Breathing in and exhale through the mouth. Breathing in and exhale through the mouth. A mood lifter. Arm up and we start tapping down the torso, starting under the arm and going down the torso. Breathing in and exhale. Other side, under the arm and down the torso. Now, like Tarzan, again, this is energy points, meridians of the body. And again, if we do it with a nice big inhalation and a sound. Ah. Inhale. Ah. Now we're going to come to the wrist, and this great mound, inner wrist joint, if we just massage it, we're said to be accessing the heart, the laughter of the heart, the qualities of the heart, joy and compassion. So this area here is the channel of the pericardium and the heart. So just massage, 1, pressing in, 2, and 3, and then with your thumb, we're just going to massage the palm of the hand. And again, press, 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 and massage the inside. We come onto the other side, again, same thing, starting about 3 fingers down. 1, press, 2, 3, and again, into the palm of the hand. And again, press, 1, 2, 3, and a nice massage. Now again, making claws, and we're just going to press into the forehead. This is very good for focus. Pressing in, and almost as if we're pulling apart. So if you've got an exam or anything like that, this is very good. Coming up onto the hairline now, and the same, pressing in and down. Crown of the head, pressing in and across. Coming down to the neck, pressing in and dragging the fingers across. And now for the spine. So have your hands in front and make a C. So you're pressing into your chair. And now put your palms on your knees. And now in the other direction, we're just going to look up very gently, if it's available to you, and look up at the ceiling. Making that C. So again, we're going in, pressing the stomach right into the back of the spine. And again, coming forward with the chin and looking up. So the spine is concave and concave. Breathing in as we look up at the ceiling. And exhale. One more time as we inhale, we look up at the ceiling. And exhale. Just one more time for good luck. Breathing in. And exhale. And I think we really are running out of time already. So that was just a very small taster of a little bit of Qigong and a little bit of energy work. But as Maggie said, you know, exercise is something that I've been doing since probably the age of 5 when I started ballroom dancing. And now I'm really interested in exercises and movement that heal. So one more thing I would ask you to do is maybe, as we started, the Namaste hands, the prayer-like hands, I just maybe would ask you to close your eyes and just check in again to see if anything has shifted for you, perhaps. Breathing in and breathing out. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, say thank you as well for coming here to this event on a Saturday late afternoon. Lots of love. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for giving us a very healthy workout. That was, and for explaining how different points relate to different parts of the body. I'm sure we've all really benefited from that. Thank you so much, Sharon.
And we didn't even get out of the chair, did we? We didn't even have to stand up.
Yeah, exactly.
We do it, you know, watching the TV.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. And we'll hear more from you next time, Sharon?
Yes, I'll be here.
Okay, great.
God willing.
Thank you. So we will now move on to our third speaker of the day, which is Reena Raj. And Reena is going to join us now. And Reena is, hello Reena, is an applied positive psychology practitioner, coach, and a qualified yoga instructor. She's currently working for a well-known nationwide charity. And she does actually work with addressing people's needs for loneliness and other things. In the past, Reena has worked in the NHS primary healthcare sector, behind reception and as a practice manager. She's also a published author, and her book is called Clock versus Compass and The Art of Positive Balance. And we're going to hear today from Reena about the 6 different ways of 6 different ways to well-being, and a little bit more about how we can transform experiences of being alone into something positive. Thank you, Reena. Over to you.
Thank you, Carla, and also to Meena and Maggie for lovely insights, and to Sharon for that enjoyable activity. Feeling very fortunate to be here and have this opportunity to share some thoughts and ideas with everyone here. So as Carla said, I work with organizations and individuals on a holistic level, combining tools from the field of positive psychology, coaching, and yoga. Positive psychology is a scientific study of human flourishing. It focuses on what we can enhance and make better in our lives, rather than focusing on just what is negative or rectifying the bad. It is about making life better regardless of circumstances by enhancing our strengths and our internal virtues. So currently I'm involved with a program whose aim is to reduce isolation and loneliness on a holistic level. The program delivers support based on 6 ways to well-being model. And so briefly what I'll do is I'll give an overview of the 6 components here. And quite a lot of that we've actually already heard as real examples in practice from Maggie in the previous talk. So it might just put some additional context to our talks from our previous speakers. The first component is connect. Connect means that maintaining some kind of regular connection with other people reduces isolation on many levels. It can be talking to our neighbors, or even having a chat in a local shop, keeping in touch with family and friends, even if it is just one phone call a week. And although we might blame technology sometimes, but technology can also be a positive way to connect with people, sending positive greetings via WhatsApp messages to friends, family that we haven't seen for a while. And that can be a way of creating some connection. Connection helps us to feel engaged, and maintaining connection is an important component in reducing feelings of isolation. So the second component is get active. And if you remember, Maggie mentioned she takes regular walks, and maintaining sufficient physical activity and physical movement releases the hormones and the right chemicals in the brain that are very important for elevating low mood and hence reduce feelings of isolation. Physical activity can be a regular short walk, gentle yoga, dance, Pilates, whatever physical activity that you enjoy. And these days there are a lot of videos and YouTube that you can watch and do by yourself, even if there is no one around you. And what Sharon just demonstrated, that you don't even need to watch anything or have any equipment or even be outside or even be with other people. You can just be sitting on a chair and you can do some physical movement in the chair. And a good motto to have as far as physical movement is concerned, every little helps. Doing short bursts of some physical movement whenever possible helps in elevating mood. The third component is give to others. Giving enhances positive feelings because it generates a sense of internal reward. This can mean giving your time as a volunteer or teaching something to someone, giving your virtues, giving your internal qualities. Giving does not always mean giving materialistic things. Giving can mean kindness, giving optimism, hope, or an encouragement to someone in our lives. And internal qualities are abundant in all of us. We don't deplete our internal qualities by giving. They are everlasting. The more we give, the more we replenish. And Maggie also mentioned that she's doing things for the family, like dog walking for family members who are busy. She's contributing and giving her time to help family members. So giving to others is not only a way to connect with others, but also creates a sense of that you are contributing towards something, and that helps in reducing feelings of isolation and loneliness. The fourth component is create. It means taking time to make or create something. It can mean cooking a meal for yourself, doing a puzzle, coloring, sewing, painting, knitting. And we've seen that wonderful painting that Maggie's done. When we create something, there is a sense of achievement. We feel more connected to ourselves. And this helps. In many ways, it helps us to feel less alone. Creative activities keep us occupied, and sense of achievement is important because when we are feeling lonely, we often feel we are not achieving anything. There is no purpose, no meaning in our lives. So when we create something, there is that internal reward, internal sense of achievement, which is very helpful in enhancing positive emotion. And that in turn reduces low feelings of loneliness. The fifth component is taking notice. This means to be mindfully present. When we become fully conscientiously present in the moment, we tend to feel less lonely because we detach from past worries or any anxieties regarding the future. This is so because partly the feelings of loneliness come from thinking about the past. What was in the past is perhaps now gone or no longer there. For example, perhaps someone who we loved has moved on. Perhaps a job has ended. Children have grown up and left. and so on. There are different ways to become mindfully present, like connecting to our breath. By connecting with our breath, we become conscientiously aware of the breath and the body. And it is then easier to connect with the present moment fully. And when we feel more connected to the present, we also connect to our surroundings, to what's happening here and now, and we feel less lonely. Other ways are a mindfulness walk. Maggie mentioned also that she goes for walks with her friends. You might not have anyone to go for a walk with, but you can do a mindfulness walk by yourself, where perhaps you're observing the colors in the nature, shapes of the trees, or just enjoying nature around you. Another way to become mindfully present and taking notice is savoring. Savoring means eating mindfully. We all eat at least once or twice a day, but these days when people have their meals, they are also simultaneously looking at their phones, or they are watching TV, or they are watching something on YouTube, or other distractions. And what happens then is when we are not fully present in either of those two activities, we are neither fully enjoying the food, nor are we fully attentive towards what we are watching on the screen. Savoring is a good way to become fully mindfully present by engaging all the senses of taste, touch, smell, and sight while we eat the food. And we become more connected then to our food. Our food then becomes more than just our meal. It becomes our nourishment. It gives us a feeling of nourishing ourselves physically as well as internally. It's like self-compassion towards ourselves. So eating mindfully, by taking notice of what we are eating, we can learn to appreciate our food fully and connect with it from a level of gratitude. So mindfulness is a great tool, and you can explore different ways and different types of mindfulness techniques, whatever suits you best. Mindfulness helps us to become fully present. And when we become fully present and appreciate that we are alive in this present moment, we can enjoy what is happening right here, right now. We feel less lonely. So the sixth component is keep learning. And as the saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. So learning means to occupy the mind with new things, to keep the mind engaged with positive pursuits, to keep that sense of curiosity alive. So when we remain curious and we continue to be interested in learning new things, our mind is occupied with healthy and positive thoughts. Healthy and positive thoughts provide an insulation, almost like a padding, so that negative feelings of loneliness don't get in. Learning does not mean you have to start a PhD research. It can mean reading an article about a topic that you want to know more about. It can mean learning a new greeting in another language. It can mean learning a short poem. It can even mean learning a new game, card game, or a magic trick, or gardening. So learning new things, keeping the mind open and curious, helps us to enhance feelings, positive feelings especially. And positive feelings create positive affect, and in turn reduce negative feelings of loneliness. So that was just a very, very quick, brief overview of the 6 things that can possibly help us to reduce feelings of loneliness. And it is always good to do a little bit of an activity to consolidate the learning. So what we can do now is, what I'd like to do is invite you to do a creative visualization with me. And visualization is a useful tool for creating focus towards the positive and helps in enhancing positive feelings. This particular visualization is called cave versus retreat. So what we'll do is we'll first visualize what it is like being in a cave, and then we will visualize being in a retreat. So just please make yourselves comfortable, move a bit in the chair if you need to, and you're welcome to close your eyes or park your gaze softly on a still point in front of you, whatever feels comfortable to you. So just taking a moment, tiny moment now to become still. So sometimes when we are lonely and alone, we go into our caves. Now imagine being inside a cave. Imagine touching the walls of the cave. The walls are made of rocks. They are cold. They are hard. Maybe damp. There is a lack of light. It is dark inside the cave. Cold, damp, dark, alone. How does that feel? How would it feel if you had to stay there for a very long time? How would it feel to be there for days in this confined space that is dark and cold? The longer you are there, it gets more and more dark and cold and alone. Now just taking a moment to visualize this experience of being in the cave. Now slowly, let's try to bring another type of quality to our alone time. Let's plan for a complete change of scenery. Imagine you've booked yourself on some exotic spa retreat or nature retreat, a location that is by a beautiful river or by the beach or a lake or in the mountains. It can be a mountain cabin, a beach hut, a country cottage, a forest lodge, a spa retreat. Imagine somewhere that is appealing for you, somewhere you want to be, somewhere you can enjoy solitude by yourself and enjoy your own company. Somewhere you are choosing to be alone. Taking just a moment to visualize this space, perhaps even moving around in this space, feeling the temperature. It feels pleasant, comfortable, sufficiently warm. There's a sense of safety. It's cozy or airy and fresh. Perhaps you are able to enjoy beautiful views, and it smells like fresh flowers or sea breeze or pine trees. It is a space where you can relax and do your favorite self-treatments or listen to soothing music and just do all the nice relaxing things This is a place where you are able to find opportunity to connect to that quiet and calm space within, where it feels peaceful, secure, safe and warm. How would it feel to spend some alone time here? Just withdrawing for a while from the outside hustle and bustle. So you have the chance to appreciate everything from a distance. Just perhaps taking a moment now to connect with this beautiful, serene space within, where you like to be alone, where you want to be alone. So now just gently opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. And just taking a moment to reflect that when we have the ability to change the quality of our alone time, instead of being in a cave, which is a cold, dark, lonely place, we can choose to go to a retreat instead. Going to a retreat is an opportunity, a place to be alone, to renew our energies, to refresh, to recuperate internally. When we go into a cave means you want to shut out the world when no one can reach us and we lose the ability to ask for help. But being in a retreat means you feel blessed to be a part of a beautiful world and you just want to withdraw for a while and appreciate it from a distance. So think about what type of alone time you want to create, a cave or a retreat when you are alone next time. Design yourself a mini retreat. It can be a few hours or even a couple of days. Choose to be alone. During this time, perhaps a good idea to detach from social media, phones, appointments, do all the relaxing things that you feel nourished by. It's also a good opportunity to reflect at all the amazing and wonderful things in your life. And a lot of research from applied positive psychology shows that gratitude enhances well-being on many levels. And empirical research also shows that practicing gratitude has mental as well as physical health benefits. So people who are deeply grateful for what they have in their life, opposed to focusing on what they don't have in their life, tend to be more relaxed and happier. And if it suits you, writing 3 good things of the day before going to bed, something what Maggie mentioned, is also a good way to enhance gratitude. So when we feel truly grateful, when we find ourselves alone through life circumstances, then also we have the ability to be grateful for alone time. We then see alone time as an opportunity rather than a negative thing. And we use that opportunity for time to reflect and, be in silence, and time for contemplation. So alone time does not have to be an experience in a cool, dark cave. It can be a nourishing self-retreat instead, where you can refresh, revive, restore, and rejuvenate. I hope you have found this helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. That was really lovely, giving us some insight into different ways to improve well-being, reinforcing the message of gratitude that research backs up, that practicing gratitude can help to change your mindset and also perhaps have an effect on the body. That's really helpful. And that lovely visualization. So Thank you so much. And so it comes to the final part of our conversation today. We're just going to end with a couple of minutes of reflection, meditation. And I just want to highlight to you that we have taken a tour of what is loneliness and some of the thinking behind it. We've heard an experience from someone who's retired and given us lots of tips on what we can do to help to occupy ourselves and how we can structure our time. And we've heard some lovely tips on ways of well-being and using visualization to transform what could be a negative experience into something positive. I know that sometimes people are affected by the kind of strain of being on their own, and so at the end we will put on a slide with resources. But just for a minute, I'd like to invite everyone just to sit for a moment and in your own minds think to yourself that you accept yourself as you are, whether you are doing a lot or whether you found yourself thinking and dwelling on things that you can't change. It comes a time when, in order to change, we have to just accept how we are. And just as Rena has very nicely highlighted how we can transform being in a cold, dark place into a beautiful place just by using visualization, I'd like you to imagine that you go back into that very positive retreat place. And in this retreat place, you are safe, you are feeling happy, you are experiencing peace, you are feeling content. And in that space, you can think more positively, you can share things positively, and you relate to others in a positive way. It's a very positive, safe, secure, peaceful, lovely place inside your mind. And keeping this in mind, I would like you to take out pen and paper after we finish. And could you just design yourself a perfect retreat day? Put in all the things that you'd like to do that would nourish you, support you, make you feel content, happy, loved, make you feel friendly, that you can give and reach out to others. And just as Maggie suggested, that you don't have to do everything, but focus on enjoyment, focus on entertainment, focus on being well. Perhaps you can make sure that at the end of the day, you just tick off what you have done and let go of anything you haven't, and just save it for another day. So from now until we next meet, which will be January the 9th, which is a Saturday at 4 o'clock, we wish you all well and a happy evening to everyone, and lots of happy exploration of how to fill time and how to help others who might be feeling a bit on their own. Next time we have two different speakers. We have Dr. Astrid Bendemeer, and we also have Sudha Chandran, and we'll be exploring a bit more what we can do to improve our well-being, to look after ourselves, And if we feel very stuck, what we can do to help take ourselves out of a loneliness which is normal to a loneliness that has become entrenched. Thank you for all your messages, everyone. And next time we will also have a chance to get into breakout groups and talk to each other. So I very much hope that you will join us all. And we will hear from Maggie, and we will hear from Dr. Mina Bobday again, and we'll also hear from Rena. So we will actually be able to continue our conversation and learning for the next time. So thank you and good evening and good night. So I will just take you through some of the resources that we have, and we really hope you'll join us next time. So campaign to end loneliness. Hopefully this has come up on your screens now. That is the government funded website, which has a number of useful articles. There is a very nice one on the psychology of loneliness. So if anyone is feeling that they want to know a little bit more about why they are where they're at, I do recommend that article. It is extremely long. It's about 70, 80 pages, but perhaps you could just scroll to the bit that interests you. But Campaign to End Loneliness is a very good website. If you are older and you're looking for some more health advice, well-being advice, and you're feeling lonely, you can reach out to Age UK, which is the second organisation we have on that screen. And then for the very young, as we heard, young people are also extremely prone to loneliness. So if you are looking out for someone who's young, or you are in that age bracket yourself, the Red Cross is offering lots of help and tips to tackle loneliness in young people. And then finally, if anyone is going through a particularly difficult time, perhaps experiencing domestic problems, domestic abuse, anything like that, there is a national helpline for that, which is at the bottom of the screen. And all of this information will be available on our website, on the Janki Foundation website, and will be there now. So you can always go there in order to, no need to write it all down to find that information. So thank you very much, everyone, and good luck with creating your day of retreat. Good night and Om Shanti.